Have you ever wondered how a group of Iranian students managed to hold 52 Americans hostage for 444 days, creating a crisis that shook the world? Imagine, a diplomatic sanctuary turned into a prison, a nation in turmoil, and the world watching in disbelief. As we peel back the layers of history, we find a tale of intrigue, defiance, and a struggle for identity. Join us as we delve into the riveting chronicle of the Iranian hostage crisis. To understand the crisis, we must first journey back to Iran in the late 1970s. The Iranian landscape was one of tumult and transition. Iran was ruled by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a monarch whose reign was marked by a rapid modernization program and a close relationship with the United States. This alliance was a point of contention for many Iranians, who saw it as a symbol of Western interference in their affairs. Simultaneously, the Shah's rule was becoming increasingly authoritarian. Political dissent was stifled, and the secret police, known as SAVAK, was infamous for its brutal tactics. This repression, combined with economic instability and a perceived westernization of the country, led to growing public dissatisfaction. The discontent culminated in the Iranian Revolution of 1979, a seismic event that saw the ousting of the Shah and the establishment of an Islamic Republic under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini. The revolution was a clear rejection of the Shah's regime, and by extension the United States, which had supported him. In the aftermath of the revolution, anti-American sentiments were high. The U.S. Embassy in Tehran, a symbol of American presence, became a focal point of this anger. Then, in October 1979, the U.S. allowed the ailing Shah to enter the country for medical treatment, a decision that ignited the already volatile situation. The stage was set, and on November 4, 1979, the crisis began. Imagine waking up to find your embassy besieged, and yourself a prisoner in your own office. This was the chilling reality for 52 American diplomats and citizens on November 4, 1979. As the sun rose over Tehran, a group of Iranian students, driven by a fervor for revolution, stormed the U.S. Embassy. The Iranian students, fueled by resentment towards the American government's support of the recently deposed Shah, saw the embassy as a symbol of American intrusion. Their objective was clear: to shake the world stage and demand the return of the Shah for trial. In those initial moments, confusion reigned. The embassy staff scrambled, destroying sensitive documents, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Within hours, the embassy was under control of the Iranian students, and the staff, now hostages, were at the mercy of their captors. The world's eyes turned to Iran, riveted by the audacity of the act. The actions of the students were not just a violation of diplomatic immunity, but a challenge to the very fabric of international relations. Every news broadcast, every newspaper headline around the globe echoed with the same question: how long would this crisis last? But as the embassy gates closed behind the hostages, hope of a swift resolution began to fade. The Iranian students were resolute, their demands uncompromising. The American government, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, their diplomacy tested like never before. The crisis was not a matter of hours or days, but weeks, and as the weeks turned into months, the world watched, holding its collective breath. The hostage crisis was not just a test for the American government, but a watershed moment in world history that would redefine international relations. The world watched in disbelief as the crisis went from days to weeks, then months. The Iranian hostage crisis had unfolded, and its ripple effects would be felt for decades to come. The hostage crisis was more than a diplomatic nightmare. It had far-reaching implications on global politics. As the crisis unfolded halfway across the world, the United States was gearing up for a presidential election. The incumbent, Jimmy Carter, was grappling with the hostage situation, which became a contentious issue in the election. His opponent, Ronald Reagan, capitalized on the perceived weakness of the Carter administration in dealing with the crisis. The election results swung in Reagan's favor, marking a significant shift in American politics towards a more conservative stance. The crisis also strained U.S.-Iran relations, creating a chasm that is yet to be fully bridged. The United States severed diplomatic ties with Iran, a move that has lasted over 4 decades. This has led to a series of sanctions, diplomatic standoffs, and proxy wars, reflecting the deep-seated animosity between the two nations. The hostage crisis further complicated the geopolitics of the Middle East. Iran, once a strategic ally of the U.S. in the region, became isolated. This shift in alliances created a power vacuum that was filled by other regional players, adding yet another layer of complexity to the already intricate Middle East puzzle. But it wasn't just the political landscape that shifted. The crisis sparked a wave of anti-American sentiment in Iran, with the U.S. Embassy takeover being celebrated as a victory against American imperialism. This sentiment has been perpetuated over the years, shaping Iran's national identity and its foreign policy. The crisis was more than a standoff between two nations. It was a defining moment in history that altered the course of international relations. It highlighted the fragility of diplomacy, the potency of nationalism, and the power of perception. The crisis ended after 444 grueling days, but its echoes can still be heard in today's political landscape. As we delve into the aftermath and reflections in the next scene, we realize that the lessons from the Iranian hostage crisis are not just about the past, but also about understanding the present and influencing the future. With the release of the hostages on January 20, 1981, the immediate crisis ended. But its aftermath was just beginning. The fate of the hostages was a mixed bag. Some returned to a hero's welcome, to the warm embrace of a nation relieved. Yet others faced of nightmares, their ordeal etched deep within their psyche, a constant reminder of the price of freedom. The crisis, like a stone thrown into a calm pond, sent ripples through the fabric of U.S.-Iran relations. The once cordial ties between the two nations soured, replaced with suspicion and animosity. The U.S. severed diplomatic relations with Iran, an action that still resonates today. Sanctions were imposed, and Iran's assets in the U.S. frozen, further straining the relationship. But it wasn't just about strained diplomatic ties. The crisis spotlighted the vulnerability of diplomatic staff, prompting a re-evaluation of embassy security worldwide. It led to the creation of the Bureau of Diplomatic Security within the U.S. Department of State. This was a clear acknowledgement of the need to protect those who represent us abroad, lesson learned at a steep cost. In the wider context, the crisis was a wake-up call for the world. It underscored the volatility of international diplomacy, the fragility of peace, and the need for understanding and respect between nations. It served as a stark reminder that actions have consequences, that the echoes of the past can reverberate into the present, and that the road to resolution is often fraught with challenges. As we look back, we must ask ourselves, what has been learned from this crisis? Have we grown more adept at navigating the complex tapestry of international relations, or do we still stumble, blind to the lessons of past? The Iranian hostage crisis remains a poignant reminder of the delicate balance of international diplomacy. The question is, have we learned from our past, or are we doomed to repeat it? As we wrap up, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights. Your support helps us bring you more in-depth explorations into the past.